This segment is brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terraborn Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And glad to always get updates from the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. And welcome back to the program. Captain Brendan Mathern. Captain Mathern, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here, Keith. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it. Look, I know we don't have a whole lot of information on this particular case, but a rather sad situation here to read about where we have this negligent homicide that led to a suicide. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, just one of those horrible tragedies that you hate to wake up to, and this occurred on Saturday morning, early Saturday morning. In fact, our deputies got a call at around 3:30 a.m. In the 200 block of Colony Station in Thibodaux. You can see here on the map, essentially 22-year-old Jordan Landry and 30-year-old Draven Hendon were both pronounced dead at the scene. And from what we gathered, detectives happened at the incident at the scene, and in talking to eyewitnesses, it appears that Landry and Hendon were kind of horseplaying with a loaded gun when it accidentally went off, taking Landry's life. That was the 22-year-old. And apparently distraught by the circumstances, the 30-year-old Hendon then turned the gun on himself and took his own life. So, this just, again, tragic circumstances in this case, Keith. And, not to get into detail of what, did or did not occur in this particular case, but, as we were talking about off air, this is just one of those opportunities to make the public aware that this is why we have gun safety classes and we offer them for free to the public. We want everyone to be aware of how to handle firearms. One of the first rules when you talk about firearms is treat every gun as though it's loaded and ready to fire. And, again, not to say what would or could have happened in this case, but if you are handling a firearm, you should always have respect for that firearm, no matter how used to firearms, no matter how used to you are being around guns. Always treat a firearm like it's loaded. That is just the absolute safest way. And, as far as storage and safety is concerned, if you have a residence where children, maybe you don't live with children, but maybe children come to your residence, grandchildren, whatever it may be, you want to make sure that those guns are properly locked. And the best practice would be to lock ammunition away from the weapons themselves. That way you have if something fails and a child, maybe a gun safe gets left open, whatever it may be, and maybe they get access to the gun, but then they don't have access to the ammunition, or at least the gun isn't loaded to where they can get to it. So again, you want to use this as a cautionary tale, people to be able to learn from it. And make sure that you have best safe practices with firearms at all times. Yeah,
and I can only echo exactly what you're saying. Sadness to the family, because quite often, when you're playing around and you're with a friend or family member, and something bad like this happens, and again, Mr. Hendon seemed to be overstraught with grief about that situation, and to the point that took his own life, supposedly, according to what we've kind of figured out to this point. But yeah, great point. 2 steps to keep the guns unloaded and make sure we keep the ammunition away from it. For somebody like myself, we've had to take, family guns that have been in homes for many years. You can't always have them in older people's homes because of confusion maybe. I've got the same thing. They're separated, they're locked, and they're in separate places because I listen to people like yourself about the best ways to do that. And so we appreciate the education about that very sad situation that we all hope to learn from in the future and kind of moving forward. We also had a narcotics arrest. Tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, this came last week. Our narcotics agents, and boy, as you know, they've been busy, but they were investigating 2 separate investigations. We arrested 35-year-old Sean Meyer of Raceland and 37-year-old Ronald Franklin of LaRose. So just to start off with, they executed, and in fact, they were in the investigation, obtained search warrants for a residence on West 13th Street in LaRose and another residence on Cypress Street in Raceland. They found heroin, methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia. They also seized 6 firearms and around $6,700 in cash. And the key here is at both locations, even though they were separate investigations, they found evidence of drugs being either manufactured or combined with other drugs. So that led to a charge that we commonly see, Keith, with meth labs, and that is the creation or operation of a clandestine lab for unlawful drug manufacturing. In fact, both individuals were arrested for that. Franklin was charged with that, as well as possession of heroin, meth, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, illegal carrying of a weapon in the presence of a controlled dangerous substance, possession of a firearm with an obliterated mark, and illegal use of drugs with persons under the age of 17. Meanwhile, Meyer was charged with that same clandestine lab charge, as well as possession of marijuana, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a firearm in the presence of drugs, and drug paraphernalia. So again, and we want to take this opportunity to remind citizens that if they ever have information that could help out our narcotics agents, they can let us know. The easiest way is through Crime Stoppers, crimestoppersbr.org, or you can call Lieutenant Adam Dufresne at the number and email address you see here on the screen.
Wow, Captain, thank you so very much, and congratulations on a great team effort of getting those individuals off the street. We appreciate it, and those drugs off the street. We appreciate it. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.